Yeah, without further ado, Mckayla Wilkes.
It looks like I'm from this side of the room. Okay. So hi, my name is Mckayla Wilkes. I am running for the United States Congress House of Representatives to represent Maryland's 5th Congressional District. And thank you all for being here, and thank you guys for allowing me to have this space to speak. I was never really politically engaged at all. I didn't trust politicians. No one was speaking to the issues in my community. No one was knocking my door. No one was calling my phone. But I'm gonna tell you the journey of how I got to where I am now. I lost my aunt in the attacks on the Pentagon on 9/11. And going through that and trying to process that grief at a young age, I really didn't know how to. And so I began to act out. It turned into rebellion. I began hanging with the wrong crowd, skipping school, running away from home, and just completely going down the wrong path in life. But during that time, instead of someone talking to me and actually trying to get to the root of my issue and actually offering me the support that I needed, I was welcomed with open arms to the criminal justice system. For every 1 day of school I would miss, I would be sentenced to 10 days in juvenile detention centers. Anytime I ran away from home, I would be subjected to 30 to 60 days of being in a juvenile detention center, and was even placed in a group home for a few periods over a few months for running away from home. And instead of someone talking to me, you know, the school counselors, my probation officer, because yes, I was put on probation for skipping school, they knew what was going on with me. I had expressed to them how I was feeling and trying to process the death of my aunt. And their response was, okay, we get it, but you need to stop or you're gonna go to jail. And that was it. And so at that moment, I knew that I wanted to get into psychology. Politics wasn't in my realm. I wanted to help people on an individual level, and I wanted to help adolescents who were going through things that I was going through, or simply making mistakes, but instead of having someone to talk to, they were thrown in jail. I was shackled and handcuffed for skipping school and thrown in the back of a paddy wagon. There was even one instance where I had skipped one class. I didn't skip a whole day. But when I got to school the next day, I was called to the office, to the front office. My probation officer was there, and he escorted me in his car to the courthouse that day. And I had to go in front of a judge unexpectedly. I had just gotten my hair braided. And that day, I was sentenced to 10 days in juvenile detention with no court date, no warning, just my probation officer coming to my school, hey, you skipped school yesterday, now you're going to jail. And so when I got there, I was told, well, you need to cut your braids out. Being rebellious again, I was like, I don't want to cut my braids out. I just got my hair done. I'm only going to be here for 10 days. Why do I have to cut my hair? And they said, well, if you don't cut your hair, then you're going to stay in your room, solitary confinement, for the duration of your stay. Being rebellious, I said, okay, that's fine.
Where was this?
Since the United States. Yes, it is. It's actually a program called Child in Need of Supervision. They make the parents think that they actually want to help the child, and they make it seem as though this is going to help you be able to take care of your child. My mom had no idea that it came with all of this, and she immediately tried to get me out, but I was already in the system, and so there was nothing that she could do. And so back to being in solitary confinement. Around about the second or third day, one of the corrections officers came into my cell, and she had a pair of scissors with her. And she said, this can go one or two ways. Either you can cut your braids, or one of us is gonna hold you down and cut them for you. And at that moment, I was just like, okay, forget it. I'll go ahead and just cut it myself. And then we fast forward to the year 2014. Which was a very pivotal moment in my life. I was pregnant with my daughter, Madison. I had a high-risk pregnancy. And I was diagnosed with deep vein thrombosis, which means that I had blood clots. I had one behind each knee and one in my lung. and I had to get admitted to the hospital, and I didn't understand why. But the reason was because my insurance didn't want to pay for the medication I needed in order for my blood not to clot and for me not to die. And so I watched my doctor at the hospital haggle with my insurance for over a period of 2 weeks, basically telling them she needs this medication or she's going to die and her child is going to die. It came down to the point where the doctors were like, because I was so scared, and I was like, well, if I don't get this medicine, what's going to happen to me? And the doctor reassured me, you're going to get this medicine even if we have to keep you here for the remainder of your pregnancy to administer it to you. And at this time, I was about 5 or 6 months pregnant. My insurance company ended up paying for the medication after about 2 weeks of arguing with them. And it was at that moment, I was like, wow, I have health insurance, but they were going to let me die, and not only let me die, but let my unborn child die. And that was kind of like a strike one. And then that same year, probably not too far after this, I was incarcerated for driving on a suspended license. I was caught in a cycle, and I'm not going to lie to you, my license had been suspended at numerous amounts of time for not being able to pay traffic tickets or court fees, because at this time I'm going from basically minimum wage job to minimum wage job when I could find a job. And so I was given the option of either you pay $1,000 in fines and 13 points on your license, or you can do 2 days in jail. I chose the 2 days. Of course, I was shackled again and taken to jail because I couldn't afford to pay the court fee that was assessed to me. And the judge asked me, well, why do you keep coming here for driving on suspended license? And I told him, I can't afford to pay these tickets and these court fees. And the tickets, you know, broken headlight, court fees, it was just a very bad cycle that took me years to get out of. That was strike 2. And then so fast forward to when I'm in jail, right, for being suspended, driving on a suspended license. For whatever reason, my pregnancy was seen as a condition that they needed to put me on 23-1. And so for those 2 days, I was forced to stay in a jail cell for 23 hours a day and could only come out for 1 hour to shower or make a phone call or what have you. And then we fast forward to 2015, when I saw Bernie Sanders run for president. And he was speaking to issues that were pertaining to people in my community. Speaking about, you know, cash bail reform, Medicare for all, affordable housing, and speaking about how our system doesn't work for people who are in my community, regular working class people. And then also seeing women that were in jail and couldn't get out because they had to pay bail money of $100, $150, and being stuck there. There was one woman that was there and she had to pay bail for stealing kids' clothes. And of course, you're stealing kids' clothes, that's a necessity for you. And that was kind of a strike 3 for me. And then seeing Bernie Sanders run for office, speaking to these issues, that's when I decided, okay, I want to get involved in politics. Because now we have somebody who's talking about the things that I'm going through. They're talking about the things that the people in my community have been going through. And that's when I started to really pay attention. And at that moment, I knew that I wanted to run for Congress one day. Because going through all these experiences, I realized that these issues are way bigger than the individual. Like, yes, I can study psychology and help these people, but something needs to be done systemically to change these things that are happening around us. Because it's barbaric in a sense. And so, of course, I thought, you know, I have to go to college. So I started to study political science. And I was like, well, I have to go to school to be a lawyer. And then I have to work in politics for a while. And then I have to meet all these politically entrenched people. And then I'll run for office. But then in 2018, I saw AOC running. She was a regular person. And I was like, wow, like, you can run as a regular person. You can speak on issues that are happening in our community, and you can win. And so that's when I decided I'm going to put my name on the ballot. And I filed to run for United States House of Representatives. And so I'm not asking anyone to cast their votes for me or support me because I've hit a few bumps in the road. But I'm asking everyone to stand with me because it takes a movement to make any of these things happen. It takes a movement to enact Medicare for all and ensure that everyone gets health care. And it takes a movement to enact the Green New Deal. And it takes a movement to reform our criminal justice system. It takes a movement to get truly affordable housing for everyone in the country. And so with that being said, I just really welcome you all to join this movement because this is how we grow, as Dash said, in houses like this, in libraries, on the street, talking to people. But of course, since we don't take any money from any corporations, we need to build this movement with grassroots funds. And so that's why I really encourage everyone here to make a contribution to our campaign before you leave today, because it's that important. We have a lot of things at stake. People are dying, people are homeless, people are being forced to live in poverty, people are being stuck in jail just for being impoverished or dealing with substance abuse issues or mental health issues. We need to get the work done, but I can't do it by myself. I need people like you to stand behind me and join this movement as well.
Wow.